back again today with a gorgeous card. This is one of the channel cut cards, and I'm going to show you how to use your dies, doubling them up to get a completely different look. And I'll introduce the dies we're using. I've got the Austrian collection, the border, corner, and tag, and this is the border we're going to be using. I have the Salzburg from the Austrian collection as well. I'm going to use that for our sentiment. I've got the Grand Vinery, and this is a lovely swirly bit with some skeleton leaves. It's really, really pretty. And we're going to be using both our open petal and our complete petal on our Delicate Daisy to give you a really, really pretty flower. The embossing folder for today's card is the Art Deco Fanfare from Creative Expressions. This is one of the larger sized embossing folders, so you'll need a bigger machine like your Grand Caliber for that. So we'll start out with the embossing on this one. So I'm going to just get my base plate and my raspberry adapter plate, put a piece of coconut white card into the folder, about like that. And there's no tan mat, just these two plates sandwiched with the folder in the middle. We'll run this through in our Grand Caliber. Okay, set that aside, and you can see really gorgeous look to that. Okay, now what we're going to do is cut this, and I'm going to use a little paper cutter here, and we're going to cut it on a diagonal. So you can kind of decide how much of a slant you want on your card, but just to show you basically how it's going to look, about like this. And I've already got one done ahead of time because you will need to put some mounting foam on that. And just raise it up so you can get your channel going and really show it off. So I've got the top and the bottom with the mounting foam. And I have already cut two of the borders from the Austrian collection. Now, if you notice, when you put them together, they overlap and create a brand new pattern. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use a little bit of our Cosmic Shimmer glue and just glue the two pieces together. Run a little bead down each side. I'll put a couple little drops here and there. Catch the top nicely. Okay. Turn it around so the sides are facing opposite, and just slide them in together so they are even on both sides. Give it a second for the glue to catch. There we go, a little bit on me. So you can see you get a really pretty pattern there, doubling that up. It's lovely. Now, what you want to do is take and decide how far apart you want your two pieces to be. Now, I'm going to mat them onto a piece of blue, but I'm going to have to trim the edges first. So I don't want to put that on there just yet. But I'm going to go ahead and put some glue across the top here on both sides. Just run a small bead. Okay, and make sure it's nice and straight, and we're going to glue these pieces across there and make sure they go from one side to the other. Make sure it's not too big. Excuse my leaning over because I want to make sure it's going to fit onto that mat. Give you a little bit of moving around time there. And just move that back up a tiny bit. Now, if you're doing this at home, obviously you can take a lot more time and make sure it's nice and straight. But I'm going to just nip this straight across with my scissors, but try and keep it so I don't move it too much until it's good and dry. There we go. And we're going to tip this side, get underneath there. There we go. Okay, so now I can turn this over. In fact, I'm going to just trim that one more time a little straighter. There we go. And take my mounting foam off the back. It's always the hardest part of a card, is taking off the little pieces of release paper off the mounting foam. Okay, so now pop this into place. Let's see if we can get it nice and straight. Yeah, it's not too bad. There we go. So you've created a really pretty background there with your channel. I think that looks lovely. So I'm going to decorate that a bit. I've done some of the delicate daisies with the white and the blue ahead of time, and I've cut out each of them the same size twice, offset them. So I'll just show you what I've done. Here's a white one, here's a blue one. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue, the center of this, and I just put a little bit on the tips of each of these petals. And then we'll pop that into place on top of the matching blue one. So both your complete petal and your open petal are the same size. So you can just line them up to give you a really, really pretty look to it. Just give it a second to catch. There we go. And because it's got a natural area, I always do 2 of these, and we're going to just put this onto the bottom of another one, offset it to make a fuller flower. Give that a second there. So you've got a really pretty flower there, and I like to just bend the tips up, give it a little bit of forming, and you can kind of hold it in place as you go around, and it dries really nicely then. There we go. I'm going to use a glue dot to hold them, and I've gone ahead of time and cut one of the grand vineries, and look at the absolute beautiful detail on that. So I'm going to just seat that in the corner here and have it kind of spraying off to the side of my card, and put some of the flowers in place on top of it. So I've got the largest one here, I think would be real pretty in the corner. And we'll just do a little cluster of 3 on the top. Maybe have a larger one up here, and then a slightly smaller one. And there's several different sizes on here, so you can get a really nice grouping going. Okay, so I've got that ready to go. So now let's cut our sentiment and add that to the bottom part. Okay, I went ahead and stamped it with a black archival, all ready to go. So we'll cut it out, and I'm just going to use the center, which is a center cutting edge on this tag from the Border Corner tag in the Austrian collection. So we're going to layer it around there, just make sure it's nice and straight, and run it through the grand caliber. So put it onto my cutting plate, put my base plate on top of it. There we go. And feed it through. In fact, we can even go up and back, just a quick trip. Okay. So now I just need a little bit of ink to bring that to life. So I'm going to be using the Chipped Sapphire Distress ink, a little bit of Cut and Dry, and we're just going to pick up that edge as we go around. Framing your sentiment is a really nice way to draw the eye in on your cards. Adds a little bit of color, a lot of interest to your cards. And like I always say, you can add more, so go over it really lightly to begin with, and if you want it a little deeper, you can go back a second time. So we'll pop that out. I've got a really pretty pierced edge on that. Isn't that nice? And I will add a little bit of mounting foam. I've already gone ahead and cut the decorative insert from the Salzburg collection. I'm going to put that down in the bottom here. Makes such a pretty frame. Add our sentiment on top of that. And let's add it on to our base of our card. Now I like to frame my cards with either piercing or PVA glue dots, and I've gone around the edge on this one with some white Cosmic Shimmer PVA glue. And I'm going to just seat this right in the middle of that. I usually will let these dry overnight so they're good and dry by the time my card's ready to go. And I have one little flower extra I've made. We're going to just balance it out and have one down here peeking off the top of our sentiment. I think that's really pretty. There you have it. Really simple, very effective way to create a card, and I think anybody that would receive this would just be thrilled to bits with it. Really hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you'll come back soon.